Hi, I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US, and today I'd like to share with you some outside-the-box ideas that I created using the contents of the February 2019 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up! Titled Grown with Kindness. I'm completely obsessed with these fun kits. They arrive in my mailbox each month and contain everything that I need to make the intended creative project. This month is a set of 9 cards, 3 of each style. I also received this publication with directions, tips, photos, a ruler for measuring, details about the kit, and a link to a how-to video to help guide me in assembling. And the best part? I receive an exclusive stamp set and a mini ink pad that I can use over and over again even after the consumables from my kit are used up. A clear block, which was included with my first kit for mounting my stamps, and my scissors are the only extra supplies I need. Paper Pumpkin kits in the US are only $19.95 plus tax per month. Shipping's included, and you control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. You can stop and start anytime. The kits are produced through Stampin' Up!, so the colors, images, and supplies coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these coordinating products as I share the alternate projects that I created with my kit contents. You can find these items listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look below for links to learning more about Paper Pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, I'll link to my website where I've shared photos of these projects. I'm excited to create with you, so let's get started. The first thing I always do when I get my kit is I create the projects as intended, and I follow the directions to see if there's any alterations I can make or suggestions I can give to my viewers. One of the alterations that I typically go for is the twine, consumables, things like that I want to be able to use more of in my alternate projects. So I want to let you know that for these measurements here on step 4, instead of using 12 inches for the first step, I used only 11. For the second one, I used only 8. That saved you 4 inches plus this one here, so that's 5 inches so far. But then on the third, it says 18 inches, and I actually needed almost 20 inches for that. So just wanted you to know, because then you'll have some extra twine to use on your upcoming projects if you're going to do some alternates like I'm doing. Another suggestion I have is not to use as many of these accents on each card, because then you can use those for other projects as well. And on this card here, I wasn't quite fond of how this busy paper blended into the busy background. So a suggestion I have, if that kind of bothers your eye as well, is to just fold the card inside out, or outside in I should say, and use the white side. Or you could pop it up on dimensionals, which would bring it further away from that busy background. You could have it on the outside like this so that you're using this area to write on in your card, or you could turn it around and just have that as a fun little accent on the inside, or it could be completely on the back of your card instead so that you don't see it. I just found it was very busy when it was smack dab against it. So on mine, I ended up doing both. I added a layer of lemon lime twist cardstock behind the photo of the succulents, and then added dimensionals behind that layer to really pop it up and away from the black striped background. Normally I save scrapbooking until the end of the video, but this time it's the first project that I thought of, so we're going to show it first, and it's pretty easy to put together. So we're going to make a 12 by 12 scrapbook page spread for our first project. We're going to need 12 by 12 fresh fig cardstock, some basic black 8.5 by 11, the leaf punch, and then some basic tools here like the snips, the trimmer, the bone folder. Snail adhesive is my preferred adhesive. It goes quickly that way, but you can use the glue dots that come in the kit, of course. We're also going to bring in some sponging and some green inks. Now when you look at the photographic images that come in these kits, you see more colors here than are just listed on the back of the publication that you get. So instead of just lemon lime twist, I also saw mossy meadow and I saw garden green. So those 3 colors are colors that I'm going to for sure focus on. I'm bringing in a sponge because I want to sponge on color onto some cardstock that I punch out with the leaf builder punch. But I also saw mint macaron and I saw soft seafoam in there too. So you can really play around with the colors that are in these photographs and get a lot of variety in coordinating. What I do when I get my sponges is I cut them into little wedges. So I cut them in half, I cut them in half again, and then I cut those into half-size pieces. So I can get 8 of these wedges out of one sponge. And sometimes I even clip on a little piece of cardstock to remind me what color it is, or I just write it on the side with a Sharpie marker. My sponges are in bad shape, aren't they? So after you're done punching out a bunch of these leaf punches, then you're going to take these and you're going to lay them down onto some scrap paper. I have my grid paper here that is for our stamparatus. It's nice and small. I love working with this with paper pumpkin. And then you're just going to sponge in the middle. So we're going to have the darkest part of our leaf in the middle of that, and we're going to build those up. And then, so I don't have to wash them out every time, I just store my inked up sponges inside a container like this. It's an embroidery floss container. I store them with the sponge daubers too, which we also have in the online store. And so then all my sponging stuff is stored away in one neat container. The next step is to take each leaf and just curl it back away from the sponged side of the cardstock. So we're curling it backwards. I love the glue dots that come in the online store because you don't have to peel off any backing on them. You can just grab your item that you're going to stick on and grab the glue dot and then stick it onto your project. So we're going to do that with a few of these leaves. You can, of course, use the glue dots that come in the kit. That's why they're there. I'm now starting to map out my scrapbook page spread, and I know that I want to put this little photo piece here, but I want lines coming to each of the photographs from that center point. So I put some snail adhesive down, and now I'm taking this silver thread, metallic thread, and I'm lifting up one photo at a time and just putting a little bit of adhesive under there, tacking down that silver thread, and then bringing it to this center point. And every once in a while I need to lift up a photo to bring the thread underneath, and probably even add some more snail adhesive from time to time to make sure it's really sticky in that spot. To do the thread coming off the photos that are on the opposite page, start out with the same method where I lift up the photo mat and I put the thread down. I line everything up, and then I bring that thread in the direction of where it would be touching this piece, and I cut it off about an inch into the page. And on the back side of the page, I have put some snail adhesive back here. So all I need to do is take and pull on this gently, make sure it's lined up in the direction I want it to go, wrap it, and tuck it behind. And then on this side, I'm going to just take some thread, tack it down, make it come in that direction, cut it about an inch into that page, line the pages up, and I have snail on the back side of that as well. So I grab this thread where it's going to be coming in, and I wrap to the back. Don't press hard on your cardstock when you're working, because you don't want it to stick to your surface. After you have your little spider web formed with your silver metallic thread, then you're going to flip over, see if we can release that, flip over your pages, and you're going to attach some cardstock just to protect it. So you'll slather some snail adhesive all over the back of that and stick that down. Same thing with the other side. And now we just have to take care of these two areas. So these areas on my spread are going to be popped up with dimensionals. So the pieces are. So I'm going to go ahead and take some dimensionals and just add them to reinforce these spots so that the thread doesn't get loose. We're almost done, but we have this really, really bright green down here for the lemon lime twist. And although it is in here, it's not as bright and bold as that. So we're going to add a strip from the kit of lemon lime twist. We're going to stamp on that, and this is going to be our sentiment message. So it'll say you, and then the message, the stamp that comes in the kit says are wonderful. And now we'll just add this end with a glue dot and the other end with a dimensional. And then we need to add some bling. Now you only get so many of these little fun accents in your kit. So I'm going to bring in from our online store the frosted and clear epoxy droplets, which are similar, but they also include some larger clear ones. You can see they're well loved. I love this accent. So we're going to pop a few of the larger ones next to it too. And the scrapbook pages are finished. I will have photos on my blog so the lighting isn't as compromised as it is in this camera. I'm so sorry about that. So let me quickly tell you the sizes of the photo mats. These three across the top are all 3 inches high, and these two are 3 by 3 and a quarter, and this one is 3 by 3.5. Then we have this photo mat down here is 5 by 4. This one is 5.5 by 3.25. This one here and the one in the opposite corner on this page, those are both 5.5 by 4 inches. And then on this page we have the 5 by 6 3/4 inch piece. On this one we have the 5 by 3 1/4. This one's just 3 by 2 inches. And this one is 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. I'm excited to show you a couple cute note card ideas that I have next. So we're going to pretend like the consumables in the kit are used up, and they haven't been yet. We're still going to come back to them later. But right now, let's focus on some note cards. And you can buy already pre-cut and pre-scored note cards in our online store. These are the Whisper White note cards. They're a mailable size. The nice thing is you have them ready to go. So we're going to use those. We're going to use some of the other supplies we've already used, like the leaf punch, the silver thread, some of these clear and frosted epoxy droplets. And I forgot to mention earlier that these do come with a frosted or dull look, and then the shiny, they call that clear, but it's silvery. And then we've got a couple inks that we're going to use. We're going to use Fresh Fig, which comes in your kit, but I like to use the bigger size ink pads. We're going to use Soft Sea Foam, which is a very nice light green. And then, of course, our blocks, you'll need those. If you do not want to use the block that came with your first kit, you can invest in more blocks that are ergonomic. They are very comfortable in your hands, and that's what I tend to use. And then we'll need some cardstocks. So we'll need the Fresh Fig, Soft Sea Foam, and Whisper White. So I'm going to pretend like I don't have a ton of punches, although I was tempted to use my circle punches, but I want to show you that you can do some fun layering on your cards just with your trimmer. So what I did is I took the sentiment that I want to put as the highlight of my card, and I just laid it on top of my trimmer like this and kind of estimated out how far I wanted it to go. And so my Whisper White piece is 1 3/4 by 2 inches, and it fits pretty well on there. So that means this layer here, the layer underneath, will be about 1/4 inch larger in each direction, and that'll give me a nice background piece, a nice mat on that. So we have a 2 by 2 1/4 inch piece now, and that will go right here. Then with the punch that we did invest in, we're going to punch out some leaves. And we'll be using the U stamp. So we'll just mount that. And you want to mount your stamps crooked so that you're not relying on the sides of the blocks when you're stamping down. It just helps me. So there, now they're not on there straight. So we're going to also use that sentiment, and we're going to first stamp that onto our scrap piece here. Let's go ahead and bring that in. And then we'll take the Soft Sea Foam color, and we'll stamp that across the front of our card in rows. So after you've stamped that, then you're going to come in with a sponge And you're just going to start in the middle and rotate and add a little subtle color coming out from the center. Let's set that aside and let's go ahead and layer this piece onto the fresh fig. And then we're going to add a little bit of adhesive behind here because we want to add some silver thread. And the best way to add the silver thread is to put the adhesive back there and then put that in a safe spot so it doesn't roll away from you. Just start looping the thread. Now we're going to add some dimensionals. We're actually going to use the edges. The edges, I think, are best for this sort of thing. They cover a lot. Next, we're going to tuck our leaves up inside and underneath the white here. You could also just tuck it behind if you want to. So we're going to grab glue dots. And I have one on the back side here. And I think I'm going to have it on the same side as my silver thread. Awesome. And then the last thing is just to add some accents. Now if you have some left over from the kit, great, you can use those. Or you can grab these from the frosted and clear epoxy droplets. And there's a sweet little card to give to somebody that's very special to you. Let's make one more note card. For our second note card, I've already stamped "Are Wonderful" on this fun strip because you get like a whole extra sheet of these. So even though we're using consumables from the kit, these won't be used up if you make the kit cards as is. So those are extras, yay! And I've already taken and put in some adhesive on the back, plus I've put some silver thread back there. So we're gonna layer that onto this fresh fig, this really nice purple strip here, like that. And then we're just going to trim this up to line up with it. Now we're going to position this on the card where we want it to go, and then we're going to stamp the word "You" right above the "Are Wonderful." And now we know that we're in a good spot. So we're going to go ahead and tape the rest of this down. If we messed up, we could always cover it up and do it again. And then the last part is just to add some flowers. And so there's a little tiny flower image that comes in the kit. We're going to stamp that down without re-inking. So we're going to stamp, 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 and then do it again down here. As if the flowers are trailing off. Very pretty, very fun. Let's add some embellishments to that. And there's how simple that came together. I love it. Very easy. The next project I have for you is super duper simple. It's a fun little box, like a little treat box. You could use it for any occasion. Easter's coming up. You could make it Eastery if you want to. I'm just going to show you a very simple design. We're going to use the Detailed Trio punch, which punches 2 corner punches and a hole punch. We're going to be using the hole punch right now. You'll need a sharp pencil for when you make your marks for your measurements. And let's just start with the striped card base. Now the card base is 5.5 inches wide, so we need to cut that in half. And half of that is 2 3/4. So we're going to rotate it into our trimmer like this, bring it up to the 2 3/4 inch mark, and make a slice all the way from the bottom to the top, or top to bottom. And now we'll set one of these aside. We'll flip it over so it makes all the marks on the inside instead of on the outside. And we're now going to mark the halfway point again between here and here. So halfway between 2 3/4 or 3/4 is 1 3/8. So we're just going to bring it right to that spot there. And when we put this down like this, we can mark using the channel of our trimmer and just put a little pencil mark at the end of the cardstock edges right there and right there. And then we're going to make 2 marks here, right on the score line, on the outside edges. And we're going to connect those points to make triangular connections, okay? But we need to make 4 more marks before we do that. So we're going to open up our trimmer so that we can lay the edge of our cardstock right here in the channel. And you can see this has been marked at 1 3/8, so you could mark it from here instead if you'd like. But we're going to do another mark, and we're going to bring that one into 5/8 of an inch, which is right here. That's the 5/8 inch mark, so we're going to mark it there, and we're going to try to bring it down about 1/4 of an inch. You're going to do the same thing to the other side, but let's first do this measurement and this measurement on this side. So 5/8 inches in from this side is right here, and 5/8 inches in from this side, it might be easiest to just count back 1/8 inches. So here's 1 hop, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that will land you at the 2 1/8 inch mark if this is exactly 2 3/4 inches. So 2 1/8, and then 1/4 inch down. Okay, these little marks going inward are important so that we can get the punch in there. So remember 5/8 inches here, 2 1/8 here, we'll bring it 5/8 inches there. Let's flip this around and do the other side real quick. Another way to mark those measurements is to use the ruler inside the pamphlet that comes with your kit. So you could just use this little mark here at the bottom, this little ruler at the bottom, and count in 5/8 of an inch, make your little mark, go down 1/4 of an inch. Here's your 2 1/8 inch mark, go down after you've made that, go down about 1/4 of an inch. Here you can even mark the 1 3/8 inch mark, so you can do that with the ruler inside your pamphlet. Now, let's flip this over. We're going to flip the punch over, and again, there's 2 corner punches. These punch fun little corners into the edges of your cardstock. Here, let me just demonstrate for you, because they're super cool. So if you hold it in there like that, there's little guides, and you can just punch, and you can get a rounded corner. You can get, there we go. You can get this fun little design like that. And then this one creates a hole punch, so it goes straight in, and you can create a hole punch. And that's what we're going to do right now, but we're going to flip it over so we can see where that hole punch is going. And there's the mark. So as we bring our punch in, we'll be able to see that as long as we had it about 1/4 of an inch in. So you'll want to see that centered in there, and then you'll just push down from the base like that. It's pretty easy. All right, so now we're going to connect that point to that point, and you want to just put them inside the little channel here so that you can see that little mark through the middle and this little mark through the middle, so that they're lined up, and you'll just press with the scoring blade. We'll do that connecting all 4 of those points. This is a very simple treat box. I call it the triangle box. It's really easy. And then you just fold right on that score line as well. And we're going to bring it up, and we want the stripe design to show, so this is going to be surrounding this side. That will go on the inside, this will go on the outside, and your holes are all lined up. And we're going to go ahead and just string some twine through there. So I brought in about 10 inches of the black twine from the kit. I brought in one of the banner pieces in the mint macaron color, and I punched the end of it with that same punch. I have the stamp that has the flower on it, and we're going to go ahead and stamp that with our Memento Tuxedo black ink. We're just going to stamp it close to the top. We'll set that aside, and then we'll wind the twine through. And here is the finished box. You can see it's still very simple. I have some embellishments on it called faceted dots. They come in 4 different colors. And then I also have the embellishments from the kit on there. Here's the tag. It's centered with one of the faceted dots that comes in black. And that's where you can write the to and from on here. This is easy to, just open and retie again. You put a treat or a gift inside of there, and you have a nice little simple gift container. Now this is another one that I did. This one looks like a carrot. So if you were trying to do something for Easter, this is an idea using the same measurements, same idea. I sponged on some pumpkin pie ink onto the striped side. I stamped Easter greetings from the stamp set called Fable Friends, which is now in our Occasions catalog. I stamped that onto the strip of mint macaron, the banner piece that comes from the kit. These are more of the faceted dots. They come in the mint macaron color. This is Grapefruit Grove, which coordinates really well with pumpkin pie. Also the basic black, and then Blackberry Bliss, which goes super well with our fresh fig color. So let me just show you. It's kind of used up, but there you can see all the colors. There's 4 of them there. And to get the leaf punch pieces on the inside, which I also sponged on both sides to give it a little bit of dimension, I just cut a slit in the middle before I actually put the box together. I cut the slit, I inserted the leaves, stuck them into one side with glue dots, and then closed up the box with, well, I would put treats in there. I don't have any treats in there yet, but I can untie and retie. Another thing too is now that you have the idea of this sort of box, you can really do it with any long rectangular piece of cardstock. So you could make mini boxes or larger boxes. All right, so there's those 2. Before I move on to the last project in this video, I do want to point out that we have more than just the Whisper White and Very Vanilla note cards in our collection of products. So I typically tend to go towards those note cards and envelopes, but we also have other pre-cut and scored little cards and envelope packets too. We have some narrow Whisper White note cards and envelopes. We have these watercolor wash ones that have a vanilla and white interior and vanilla on the outside with some pretty colors. And then if you flip the page in the catalog, so this was on 193 in our annual catalog, but then you can find that we also have note card and envelope packets for our Memories and More cards. So they fit like 4x3 size images on the front and 4x6 size images. So for my last card, I'm going to be using the Memories and More envelopes and note cards, actually just the envelopes, that help to hold a 4x3 type of Memories and More card. Now when folded, this card base is actually 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, and it fits wonderfully into here. So if this is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, we're going to save one of those envelopes, and we're going to grab one of our card bases in the kit. This is 4 1/4 inches long. If you can see here when we fold that in half, it will fit into the envelope this way, and we're going to cut it to 3 1/4 this way. Next, we're going to take another card base, and we're going to cut that to 4 inches by 4 inches. So we're removing more than half of it on one side, and a portion right here. This will be an explosion part that pops out when we open our cards. So we'll need both of those pieces for this fun fold card. Now, though you've trimmed off all of these pieces, don't throw them away. You can use them on some other project. We're going to bring in the trimmer again, and this time we're going to score. We're going to score this piece so that it becomes our explosion portion of our card. So we want to score, and we'll turn it over so we can see better. Since this is 4 inches by 4 inches, we're going to score it in half at 2. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees and score it again at 2. And then we're going to bring it to just one of the diagonals. It doesn't matter which one, because this is a perfect square. So we're going to go corner to corner with our last score. Let me show you the card that inspired this. So this card here, we got to make at my team leaders meeting the other day, and it explodes. So watch what happens when we open it up. This card, by the way, is slightly smaller, but it's going to work with our slightly larger card base. You can see there's a slight difference. Here we go. Isn't that fun? So that's what we're going to be doing with this card. And we're going to use this paper from the kit for the inside and for the front, because we're going to use a square portion of it for the inside. We'll have a small strip for the outside, and then we'll use a couple of these strips from the kit as well. Let's go ahead and grab that the detailed trio punch, and we're going to do a couple corner punches with the front portion of our card. So pick which side is going to be your front, and aim the bottom two front corners into this punch. Put it flat on the table, make sure it's flush with the two sides that are holding it, and punch it down. And that's a really pretty decoration, yay. And when we close it, we can actually see the white come through too. We're gonna stamp this piece with one of the sentiments from the kit. That sentiment is, life is tough, but so are you. We'll peel that off and stick that at an angle onto our D-size block. Grab our Fresh Fig ink. And we'll stamp that right down in the middle. We're going to be stamping two other sentiments, so don't put your ink away quite yet. We'll set these pieces aside. And now we're going to trim up this piece. This piece measures 3 3/4 inches in this direction. So we want to make it a square. We're going to bring this in at 3 3/4 inches and trim. And now, when we look at this finished explosion piece right here, these squares that made up these two triangular pieces here, so this square and this square, it's slightly a smaller square because you have to separate it down the middle. So we're going to cut this knowing that these squares here are going to be smaller than these squares. So let's first go ahead, and if our piece is 3 3/4, half of that is going to be 1 1/2 plus 3 3/8. So at 1 7/8, we're going to trim that in half. We're also going to rotate these, and we're going to trim each of those in half, like that, and keep them in your little puzzle piece order, and like that. So now we have our puzzle that looks like this. Now if you rotate it into more of a diamond shape, like that, you can see we're going to be making kind of a little diamond shape. These two pieces are going to be slightly smaller. So let's go ahead and trim them up. And I'm going to trim them up on these outer edges here. See if I can remember how to do that. Remember to do that. So let's go ahead and trim up this one to 1 3/4 inches. 1 3/4 inches. There we go. Now these two portions have to get cut in half this way. So we're going to rotate this one in here, and we're going to cut it in half. When you're cutting against a corner like that, it's best to start in the inside of that cardstock. So we're going to start here. We're going to push it down, pull away, and then we're going to slide it back up through. It helps to keep that puzzle put together off to the side when you're doing this. Awesome. Our pieces are ready to layer onto our explosion. So let's go ahead and fold this. We're going to fold inward. Actually, I want the black side to show. So we're going to fold inward, inward, and on this one, we're going to flip it over and we're going to fold that way. So when you push it together, that's what it's going to look like, is like that, okay? Okay, so now we have the explosion part of our card ready to go. And now we're ready to finish the card. So I'm bringing that grid paper back in, and we're going to line up the front bottom edge of the card with this bottom line here. These squares on the grid paper are all 1 inch by 1 inch. So this to here is 1 inch, and this to here is 1 1/4 inches. So we're laying this extra strip from the designer paper that we cut. We're going to lay that at the 1 1/4 inch mark. So that's how high that is. And then this piece here, if we fold this, is going to be an inch down from the top of the card when it's folded shut. So this is an inch down. This piece here, I just trimmed off the ends. So just took and sliced them off with the trimmer. And now we can take and fold or flip this over and then trim off those excess pieces sticking out the sides. We're going to place this on dimensionals and pop it up from the card. And this piece is going to be inserted into the inside of the card with some strong adhesive like that. Before we do that, let's tie some twine around this part of the card here. This is going to cover a portion of that twine, so we want the adhesive on the inside to be super strong. All right, when placing this down, you want to have it about 1/8 of an inch away from the crease in the card, and you want to make sure that it is looking pretty darn straight in there. Then this flap will come down over the top and close on top of it, because you want to make sure that your card will close. Doesn't matter if it doesn't open all the way perfectly straight, but it does matter if it closes. So then we'll just add our embellishments on the front here. Actually, let's do this. Before we add that, let's stamp. We want to stamp up here and down on the bottom. So we're going to grab our ink again, and we're going to grab our 2 stamps. I love that message. You can do incredible things. And then this piece will go on the outside. Life is tough, but so are you. And we'll just add a couple of those fun little sparkly embellishments from the kit. And ta-da! We have an envelope for our really unique size card. A fun little explosion. Are you excited about paper pumpkin kits now? I hope so, because you can do so much with them. I invite you to get started on your subscription or reactivate a subscription that you had in the past, because this coming month in March, our March kit is going to include a second stamp set. So you're going to get 2 of them, the one that you normally get and then a free one. And that free one, we've been told, is really cool. So I hope that you can get started. You want to make sure that you're signed up by March 10th. You can click on the link below if you've never been a subscriber before. That way you can get started with me as your demonstrator. If you have subscribed in the past, go to www.paperpumpkin.com and log in and then reactivate your subscription. Don't miss out. Now that you've watched my video, I hope you can see that there's so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so much more with these super affordable kits. I hope that you've gained some inspiration from what I've shared. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more paper pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so that you can view close-up photos of these projects, see photos of other paper pumpkin kit ideas in future and past posts, and see many other great ideas that I share using Stampin' Up! Products. You'll find these links in my description below. And to get spoiled with extra goodies, gifts, prizes, and extra exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas, get your subscription started with me as your demonstrator. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.